Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Today we are going to discuss the RCOG guideline about birth after previous cesarean section, which was published in 2015, October 2015. Okay, the first thing is written about antenatal care schedule. So the question is, what is recommended schedule of antenatal care for pregnant women with a previous cesarean delivery? About this, it's written that implementation of the vaginal birth after cesarean versus elective repeat C-section checklist or clinical pathway is recommended to facilitate the best practice in antenatal counseling and shared decision making and documentation. Now, which women are best suited to have Plan VBAC? Okay, and about this, it's written that Plan VBAC is appropriate for and may be offered to majority of women with singleton pregnancy of cephalic presentation at 37 weeks or beyond, or who have had single previous lower segment cesarean delivery with or without history of previous vaginal birth. So basically, singleton pregnancy and cephalic presentation. These are two things which should be remembered. Now, what are the contraindications? About the contraindication, it's written that Plan VBAC is contraindicated in the woman with previous uterine rupture or classical cesarean section. And one another absolute contraindication is that of major placenta previa. Okay, and in a woman with complicated uterine scars, caution should be exercised and decision should be made on case-by-case basis by senior obstetrician with access to the detail of the previous surgery. Now, women with one C-section, we can give them trial. But now question arises, can women with a 2 or more prior cesarean be offered Plan VBAC? Okay, the answer is that women who had 2 or more prior lower segment cesarean section may be offered VBAC after counseling by senior obstetrician, and the counseling should include the risk of uterine rupture and fetal morbidity and the individual likelihood of the successful VBAC, and labor should be conducted in a center with a suitable expertise. Now, what are the factors which are associated with increased risk of uterine rupture in a woman undergoing VBAC? The answer is that there should be an individualized assessment of the suitability for VBAC, and that should be made in women with the factors that increase the risk of the uterine rupture. And in antenatal counseling, what are the overall aims of antenatal counseling? The aims are that, first of all, the clear documentation. The antenatal counseling of a woman with a previous cesarean should be documented in the notes. Secondly, a final decision of the mode of the birth should be agreed upon by the woman and the member of maternity team before the expected or the planned date of the delivery. Now, when the date for elective repeat C-section is being arranged, a plan for the event of labor starting before the scheduled date should be documented in the notes. Now, the routine use of VBAC checklist during antenatal counseling should be considered, as they would ensure informed consent and shared decision making in the woman undergoing VBAC. Now, a patient information leaflets should be provided with the consultation. Now, what are the risks and benefits of planned VBAC versus elective repeat C-section from 39 plus weeks of gestation? Now, women should be made aware that successful VBAC has fewer complications, and therefore the chance of VBAC success or failure is an important consideration when choosing the mode of delivery. Now, women should be made aware that the greatest risk of adverse outcome occurs in the trial of VBAC resulting in emergency cesarean delivery. And she should also be informed about the risk. How much is the risk of uterine rupture? She should be informed that planned VBAC is associated with approximately 1 in 200 or 0.5% risk of uterine rupture. Now, women should also be informed that the absolute risk of birth-related perinatal death associated with VBAC are extremely low, and these are comparable to the risk for the nulliparous women. So in each and every step we should try our best that women opt for VBAC. Now, along with telling the advantages of the VBAC, we should tell her about the disadvantages associated with the elective repeat C-section. Okay, women should be informed that elective repeat C-section is associated with small increased risk of placenta previa or accreta in the future pregnancies and of pelvic adhesions, complicating any future abdominopelvic surgery. Now, perinatal death rate with elective repeat C-section is also very low, but there is small increase in the neonatal respiratory morbidity when elective repeat C-section is performed before 39 weeks of gestation. The risk of respiratory morbidity can be reduced with the preoperative course of the antenatal corticosteroid. Now, what is the likelihood of the VBAC success? Women should be told that the success rate of planned VBAC is 72 to 75%. And now, what factors determine the individualized likelihood of a VBAC success? Now, women with one or more previous vaginal births should be informed that the previous vaginal delivery, particularly previous VBAC, is a single best predictor of the successful VBAC and is associated with a planned VBAC success rate of 85 to 90%. Previous vaginal delivery is also associated with reduced risk of uterine rupture. Now, how would we do intrapartum management of the planned VBAC and what delivery setting is appropriate for conducting planned VBAC? Now, women should be informed that the planned VBAC should be conducted in suitably staffed and equipped delivery suite with a continuous intrapartum care and monitoring with resources available for immediate cesarean delivery and advanced neonatal resuscitation. Now, women with an unplanned labor and a history of previous cesarean delivery should have a discussion with an experienced obstetrician to determine the feasibility of VBAC. Now, about the choice of analgesia, it's written that epidural analgesia is not contraindicated in planned VBAC, although an increasing requirement for the pain relief in the labor should raise the awareness of possibility of an impending uterine rupture. And there is importance of continuous fetal electronic monitoring, and women should be advised to have this continuous fetal electronic monitoring for the duration of planned VBAC, commencing at the onset of regular uterine contraction. Now, advice related to induction or augmentation of labor. Women should be informed that there is 2 to 3-fold increased risk of uterine rupture and around 1.5-fold increased risk of cesarean delivery in induced or augmented labor compared with the spontaneous VBAC labor. So, 2 to 3-fold increased risk of uterine rupture and 1.5-fold increased risk of cesarean delivery. Now, obstetrician should discuss important thing with a mother, the decision to induce labor. There should be discussion about the proposed method of induction, the decision to augment labor with oxytocin, the time interval for the serial vaginal examination, and selected parameter of the progress that would necessitate continuing VBAC. So there should be a clear discussion between the mother and senior obstetrician. Now, there is some role of use of mechanical methods like amniotomy and Foley catheter. These are associated with a lower risk of scar rupture compared with the induction using prostaglandin. Now, something about planning and conducting elective repeat C-section. What elements are involved in perioperative, intraoperative, and postoperative care for elective repeat C-section? Elective repeat C-section should be conducted after 39 plus weeks of gestation, and antibiotics should be administered before making the skin incision in women undergoing elective repeat C-section, and thromboprophylaxis according to RCOG guideline. Now, as there is risk of placenta previa as well in previous cesarean sections, so early recognition of the placenta previa, adopting a multidisciplinary team approach, and informed consent are important consideration in the management of women with placenta previa and previous cesarean delivery. Now, coming to the last point, how should women in special circumstances be cared for? About this, it's written that sometimes the special circumstances arise and clinician should be aware of this. Okay, clinician should be aware that there is uncertainty about the safety and efficacy of planned VBAC in pregnancies complicated by different complications like post-date twin gestation, fetal macrosomia, antepartum stillbirth, or maternal age of 40 or more. Hence, a cautious approach is advised if VBAC is being considered in such circumstances. Now, women who are preterm and considering the option for birth after previous cesarean delivery should be informed that the planned preterm VBAC has similar success rates to the planned term VBAC, but with a lower risk of uterine rupture. Okay, so planned preterm has lower risk than the term VBAC. This is all about the salient features of this guideline. Thank you so much for your patience.